Have you ever heard a story so strange, so impossible, that your first reaction was, "Did this really happen?" Well, the stories you're about to hear are not legends, they are not internet inventions. They are real events, recorded, documented, and, to this day, deeply disturbing. Prepare yourself. You are at Dark Curiosity Hub, where reality is often far darker than fiction. Let's begin. Our first story begins on August 6, 1945. Hiroshima was slowly waking up. The distant sound of bicycles, the steam of public bathhouses escaping through windows, people heading to work like any other morning. Engineer Tsutomu Yamaguchi, 29 years old, walked toward the shipyard. He was just 3 days away from returning home, 3 days away from the end of the war, 3 days before everything changed. At 8:15 a.m., Yamaguchi heard a sharp sound, as if the entire sky were being torn apart. He looked up. A white flash, as intense as 1,000 suns, exploded above the city. He had no time to think. The world became light, and then darkness. The little boy bomb had exploded. Yamaguchi was thrown into the air, his body burned, his ears bleeding, his face scorched by a wave of heat capable of melting metal. Disoriented, he crawled toward the river. He saw people without skin, charred bodies, the entire city transformed into a nightmare landscape. But he was alive. That night, he slept inside a destroyed school building, unaware that the worst was yet to come. The next day, with his body shattered, he made an unthinkable decision to travel to Nagasaki, to warn his company about what had happened. When he arrived, his boss didn't believe the story. A single bomb destroyed Hiroshima? Yamaguchi, that's impossible. And then, in the middle of their conversation, another flash lit up the sky. The Fat Man bomb had exploded over Nagasaki. Yamaguchi was thrown to the ground for the second time in 2 days by 2 different nuclear weapons. And again, miraculously, he survived. He is the only human ever recorded to live through both atomic explosions. He lived until the age of 93. On February 17, 2001, a small twin-engine airplane took off from Florida. On board were the pilot and the passenger, Doug White, an ordinary man traveling with his wife and daughters. The day was clear, the air calm. Nothing suggested danger, but a few minutes after takeoff, the pilot began breathing strangely, his face turning pale, his eyes losing focus, and then he collapsed onto the controls, dead. The plane dropped sharply. Doug, in panic, pulled the yoke, his hands shaking. He didn't know where the controls were. He didn't know what to do. He had never flown a plane in his life. With a trembling voice, he opened the radio. "Mayday! Mayday! The pilot died. I can't fly this." On the other end was air traffic controller Danielle Kern, an experienced professional, but she had never guided a completely untrained person to land an aircraft. She took a deep breath. "Doug, listen to me carefully. Just follow my voice. You're not alone." For 20 minutes, Danielle guided each movement. Reduce the throttle. Keep the wings level. Small adjustments. That's it. Keep going. The plane shook violently. The family screamed behind him. The runway approached too quickly. "Danielle, I can't do this." "Yes, you can, Doug. Trust me. Hold the airplane and let it touch the ground." Then silence, and the wheels touched the runway perfectly. Doug had performed an impossible landing, guided only by the voice of a woman he had never seen. If you like real, mysterious, almost unbelievable stories like these, subscribe now to Dark Curiosity Hub. Here, every week, new stories rise from the shadows. In 1947, ships in the Strait of Malacca began receiving a disturbing message. It was simple, short, but terrifying. All officers dead, crew dead, I am dying. And then, nothing, only silence. The cargo vessel Silver Star located the source of the message, a Dutch ship called SS Ourang Medan, drifting, motionless, with no signs of life. The rescue team boarded the ship, and what they saw looked like a scene from a horror film. The crew members were dead, all of them. Bodies were scattered across the deck, frozen in expressions of pure terror, eyes wide open, mouths agape, as if they had seen something indescribable. Some pointed toward the sky, others toward empty doorways. Even the ship's dog was dead, teeth bared, as if it had growled at something invisible. But here is the strangest part. There were no wounds, no signs of struggle, no indication of poison. Nothing made sense. When they attempted to tow the ship, smoke began rising from the cargo hold. The team ran off the vessel. Seconds later, the Ourang Medan exploded into flames and sank, taking all its secrets with it. To this day, no one knows what truly happened on that ghost ship. In 1991, American woman Pam Reynolds underwent a brain surgery so risky that doctors had to do something unthinkable. To operate on a fatal aneurysm, they needed to shut down her heart, stop her breathing, drastically lower her body temperature, and bring her brain activity to zero. For 3 hours, Pam was clinically dead. But when she woke up, something impossible happened. She began speaking fluently in Spanish. Before the surgery, Pam only knew English. She had never studied Spanish. She had never lived with Spanish speakers. There was no reason whatsoever for this to happen. Doctors were shocked. Neurologists studied the case for years, and even today, there is no explanation. Some believe it was repressed memories. Others suggest extremely rare neurological phenomena. And some say Pam brought something from the other side. But the truth is, the ability disappeared months later, as if it had never existed. In 1930, Hunter Joe LaBelle traveled through northern Canada. The cold was brutal. The wind howled between the trees, and the snow swallowed sounds and footsteps. Joe arrived at the Inuit village of Anjikuni Lake, a peaceful, isolated place with roughly 30 inhabitants. But something was terribly wrong. The fires were still burning, the houses open, warm food on the tables, weapons hanging in place. But there was no one. No voices, no fresh footprints in the snow, nothing, and the worst was yet to come. The sled dogs, essential for survival, were all dead, not injured, just abandoned, starved, as if no one had fed them for weeks. When the police arrived, they investigated everything. No bodies, no tracks, no signs of migration, no logical explanation. An entire village simply vanished, and the mystery remains unsolved to this day. Some stories seem like lies, but reality insists on being even stranger. Which one surprised you the most? Leave your comment. And remember, here at Dark Curiosity Hub, truth always lurks in the shadows.